With the dust of the long journey still upon his shoes, Zoroaster appeared at the gates of the royal palace and said to the guardian of the gates, "Go and tell King Vishtaspa that I, Zoroaster Spitma, prophet of the one wise Lord, have come to see him and teach him the ways of good and evil." The guardian of the gates thought that Zoroaster was an impudent beggar, and he burst into laughter. "Go and do as I bid you," Zoroaster commanded. The guardian of the gate stopped laughing, for there was something in Zoroaster's commanding voice and his fiery eyes that frightened him. But he still did not move from his post. Zoroaster then took out a ball of fire, so one story tells, and held it in his outstretched hand. "Let this be a sign to you that I come in the name of the one wise Lord," Zoroaster said. The guardian of the gates ran at once to the throne room where the king sat on his throne, surrounded by his wise men, priests, and magicians. "A truly marvelous man has come wishing to see you, your majesty. He claims to be a prophet of the one wise Lord, and in his hand he holds a ball of fire that burns, yet does not burn his hand." "Send him in," the king commanded. Zoroaster walked into the throne room and said in a firm voice, "I, Zoroaster Spitama, prophet of the one wise Lord, have come to you, mighty king, to turn your heart from vain and evil idols towards the glory of the true and wise eternal Lord. What sign have you to offer that your words are true?" The king asked. "I teach the word of truth against the word of falsehood. If you or your wise men wish to question me, I shall answer and prove your ways of idol worship to be wrong and shadowed with the darkness of night, and the way of the one wise Lord, Ahura Mazda, to be good and bright as the light of day. Wise men, priests, and magicians," the king addressed his men, "question this stranger on his teachings, and I shall sit in judgment and decide who is right and who is wrong. If you find my words to be true," said Zoroaster to the king, "promise that you will abandon the dark ways of idol worship and follow the shining road of the wise Lord." "I promise," said the king. Then the debate between Zoroaster and the king's wise men, priests, and magicians began. Part 6, the debate that lasted 3 days. "What is this new religion that you teach, and how is it different from the religion of your forefathers?" The chief priest asked Zoroaster angrily. "I have come not to teach a new religion, but how to improve the old." Actually, how to return to the old upon the ways of the new, more like that, but not improve the old. That's an inappropriate phrase in the terms of a prophet's mouth. Zoroaster replied, "What I teach is the truth of the Creator, and therefore good. Your idol worship is not true, and therefore it is evil." "Do you mean that our gods, the sun, the fire, and the mountains, and the stars are false gods?" the chief priest asked. "No," Zoroaster replied, "they're not false gods. They're not gods at all. If a man takes a house, would you call the house the man? Even so, the sun, moon, and the mountains are not gods, but the works of the Creator." "Who is that Creator?" one of the magicians asked. "Ahura Mazda, Lord of Wisdom, supreme ruler of the world," Zoroaster replied. "And you say that he created everything in the world?" one of the wise men asked. "He created everything that is good in the world, for God is good." "And who created the evil of the world?" The king... missed a page. "Engramanyu, the evil spirit, created all that is evil in the world." Well, actually, it's more along the lines of didn't create anything but caused things to turn towards evil. "Then there is more than one God in the world," the chief priest shouted triumphantly. "Yes, there are two creators. In the beginning, there were two spirits, one good and one evil." Zoroastrianism is later, because they thought, Ahura Mazda and Engramanyu was created by time, Zoron. So there are different forms that arose that weren't true of monotheism. The two creators in the beginning, there were two spirits, one good and one evil, and the good spirit said to the evil spirit, "Your ways are not my ways, and your thoughts are not my thoughts, and your words are not my words, and your deeds are not my deeds. Let us separate." Then the good spirit created all the good in the world, and the evil spirit made all the evil in the world. Yeah, that was a later belief anyways. Then why do you say that we should follow the good spirit? Why not follow the evil spirit who is just as great as the good spirit? The wise man asked again. Because the good will win over the evil in the end. How do you know that? The magician asked. Because evil has no foresight, Zoroaster replied slowly, and after a pause he explained. The wise Lord remembers the past and understands the future, but the evil spirit does not know the past or the future. The evil lives only for the profits of the present. That is why the wise one will win the battle over evil in the end. And who created man? The wise man asked. Ahura Mazda, the wise Lord, created man. Zoroaster replied. You said that the good spirit can only do good and create only good things. Then how is it that man, created by the good spirit, is following the ways of the evil spirit? And my stomach is interrupting, saying, if you could hear it, like I can hear it, it's saying, give me food. It's breakfast time. It's day. Eat. But I'm not eating till I'm done with this. That is because man was created with a free will to choose between good and evil, Zoroaster replied. But all the thoughts a man thinks, and all the words a man speaks, and all the deeds a man does each day of his life are written down in the book of life. The good thoughts, words, and deeds are written down on one side, and the bad thoughts, words, and deeds are written down upon the other side. When a man dies, his soul comes up to the keeper of the book of life. If his good thoughts, words, and deeds are greater than his evil thoughts, words, and deeds, then his soul goes to heaven. Otherwise, the soul must go down to the tortures of hell. And this will go on forever, the king asked. No, your majesty, Zoroaster replied, for the day of judgment is nigh. On that day, the wise Lord will triumph over the evil spirit. Good will triumph over evil. Then all the dead will come to life again, and the good souls and the bad souls will be tried. They will pass through a flow of molten metal. To the good, it will seem like passing through warm milk. But the evil will burn everlastingly, and the good Lord will banish the evil spirit and the evil souls in the middle of the earth and keep them there forever. And on that day of days, the good and happy world without evil will begin and last forever. And all the men in the throne room were silent, for they had never heard such strange words before. And the king asked his men, have you no other questions to ask this man? What ought one to do to follow the ways of the wise Lord? One man immediately asked Zoroaster, Humata, Hakata, Varshta, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. Oh, these terms are broader than that. That's why I've got this. This is the way to the wise Lord. How is one to know which thoughts, words, and deeds are good? That is easy to tell. Truth is good, falsehood is evil, Zoroaster replied. And is truth alone the way to the wise Lord? Truth comes first, asked Zoroaster, but there are others. The followers of the way of the wise Lord must be pure in thoughts and deeds, and he must be charitable and help all in need. He must work the land, grow trees, raise cattle, or do other profitable and useful labor, and he must be kind to all useful animals. Then Zoroaster explained that the reward for the good deeds is not only in the life to come, but even here on earth, and he gave a full list of all the good deeds and their rewards, and all the evil deeds and their punishments. For 3 days and 3 nights, the king's men kept asking questions, and Zoroaster answered them all. The king, who had set listening attentively, exclaimed, "Surely this man who can speak so wisely and vanquish you all in argument is the prophet of the wise Lord." 7. The triumph of Zoroaster. The king kept his promise and accepted the teachings of the one wise Lord. He proclaimed Zoroaster as the true prophet of this new religion and made him high priest in the royal palace. The news of the king's conversion became known through Iran, and many people accepted Zoroaster's teachings. His family, who had refused to listen to him for over 10 years, came and paid homage to him. Zoroaster was very happy. At last he had won a victory over the idol worshippers and the magicians, and found followers willing to accept his teachings. But his happiness did not last long. The court magicians and idol-worshipping priests gathered in secrecy to plot against Zoroaster. "If this man wins the confidence of the king," they said, "then our days are at an end." They wished they could kill Zoroaster, but they knew that if the king found out who had done it, he would have them all beheaded. "I have a plan," whispered one magician. "What is it?" "The king hates sorcerers and conjurers." "Yes, yes." "Then let us accuse this man Zoroaster of being a sorcerer." "But how will you prove it?" "This is easy," said the magician. "When Zoroaster leaves his room, we will hide in it everything necessary to convict him." "Wisely spoken," all the others agreed. The next day they went to the king and said, "This man, Zoroaster, who calls himself the prophet of the one wise Lord, is only a conjurer and a sorcerer of evil. And if you have his room searched, you will find that our words are true." The king immediately sent messengers to search Zoroaster's room. When they returned with cats and dogs' heads, bones of every kind, nails and hair, and all the other things that Zoroaster used in those days. That sorcerers used in those days. Okay, I'm reading wrong line. The king ordered Zoroaster arrested and put into prison. Just then, the king's favorite horse took sick and could not rise upon his feet. All the court magicians gathered in the stables to bring the horse back to health by magic. All the royal priests gathered in the stables to pray the steed back to its strength. All the king's physicians came to the stables and rubbed the steed's legs with oils and ointments, but the magic had no, and the ointment and the prayers of the priests were of no avail. The king's favorite horse lay upon the floor of the royal stables, its legs withered like dry twigs. Zoroaster, who had heard what had happened, sent word from the prison saying he could bring the horse back to health. His message created a stir in the palace, and he was at once brought to the royal stables, where the entire royal family and the court magicians, and the king's physicians, and the idol-worshipping priest had gathered to see what Zoroaster could do. If I restore your horse to health," Zoroaster addressed the king, "do you promise that you will accept my teachings and never forsake them?" "I promise," said the king. Zoroaster rubbed one of the horse's withered legs, and it immediately became well. Zoroaster stopped in his work and again addressed the king. "If I restore your horse to health, do you promise that your son, the prince, will accept my teachings?" "I promise," said the king. Zoroaster rubbed a second of the horse's withered legs, and that too immediately became well. "If I restore your horse to health," Zoroaster asked again, "do you promise that your queen too will accept my teachings?" "I promise," said the king. Zoroaster rubbed the third leg of the sick horse, and that too became well again. Zoroaster looked sternly about him, at all the people who were watching him in admiration and awe. "Do you promise," he said to the king, "that you will punish those who plotted against me and accused me falsely of sorcery?" "I promise," said the king. Zoroaster rubbed the fourth leg of the sick horse, and it jumped to its feet well again. The king immediately set an order that 12,000 cows be killed, and 12,000 hides be tanned, and the hides be bound with rings of pure gold. And on these hides he ordered the scribes to write down in letters of gold the teachings of Zoroaster, the prophet of the one wise Lord. The teachings of Zoroaster were called Zoroastrianism, and that book into which his teachings were written down was called the Avesta. Avesta became the sacred scripture of Zoroastrianism, and Zoroaster's Spitama was made high priest to the king Kavi Vishtaspa in the court of Balkh, in the land of Iran. And in the different version, the priest of Balk actually kill him. But what's Jamashbi? There's some other character that is accused of sorcery in this case. But I think the revivalist movements have mixed the revivers into the other, and there's been a lot of exaggerations. This originally said this thing word of mouth. They tried 2,600 years ago, thereabouts, to kind of mix everything in the area into one religion, and they made 21 books, and we're only left with like part of one or something like that of those 21, but they're not the originals either. But you know, the stories of the birth multiplied and the gold and all that stuff. And I mean, who can deny such miracles after seeing them to disappoint? And well, some people, but anyways, parts 8 through 10, or is it 8 through 11 in a different time?